Rifai, a middle-aged local Sufi sheikh, lived in this area, breached and died. His fans, who they think so highly about him as a Sufi leader, they made a tomb for him right here in this area. For 900 years, this is the area of Rifai tomb. Outside, it used to be a marketplace. The Mamelukes, during the Black Plague, الطاعون الأسود, that ravaged Egypt and the world from 1345 to 1365. 20 years, the plague and the pandemic hits the world. It wiped out the population in Europe 30 to 40%. It wiped out the population in Egypt 30 to 40%. So death was everywhere. People died. A lot of people leave their homes, their shops, and their businesses behind. And that's why the Mameluke sultans inherited the properties of everyone else. That explains to you why in such a short period of time Sultan Hassan was able to acquire all these properties and built his grand mausoleum. This area was only the tomb of Rifai when the Sultan Hassan built his mosque. So the mosque on the opposite side is the Sultan Hassan, and 650 years ago it was the Sultan Hassan school and mosque and tomb of Rifai right behind you. The royal family of Egypt, Ishmael, his mother, Khoshyar Hanim, they purchased this land, and it happens to be the Rifai tomb right in it. So they hired the British architect who designed this mosque and mausoleum for the royal family. The place started in the 1860s, and it was built to be mosque, tomb. So there is no school here. This is a mosque for praying the 5 times a day. This is a tomb for the royal family members of Khoshyar Hanim, Ismail, and the offsprings. We have the family of Muhammad Ali, starting from Ismail, buried in this area until 1952 King Farouk. And that's why the royal family members and their mothers, they are buried in individual little rooms around the heart in a square shape. So the mosque has a simple design. This is the mosque where we pray. This is Mecca. Behind you, the tomb of Rifai, because the designer incorporated the tomb of Rifai inside the new design. So he put the Rifai tomb in the middle, and he built everything around it. So the central room is Rifai, and the family all around. The most interesting and the most beautiful room in terms of interior design, the tomb of Khoshyar Hanim, the tomb of Farouk, and the tomb of King of Iran, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. The last king of Iran, after the revolution of Ayatollah in 1979, he was dismissed and he sought refuge in Egypt. President Sadat offered home and shelter. He lived in Egypt for 1.5 years. Then he was diagnosed with cancer. Cancer in lymphatic gland, الغدد الليمفاوية. Cancer in lymphatic gland. He was hospitalized in Mayo Clinic in Ohio. He died in the United States. His body was sent back to Egypt, and during his illness months, the tomb was prepared for him. It's the most amazing one. You will see it in your free time. Onyx, marble, amazing, Persian rugs, fantastic. Why he was buried in Egypt? Because Egypt was his shelter. But also Egypt is a special country for the Iranian Shah. In 1946, when he was 21, 22, he married his first wife. She was Queen Farida, Farouk's sister. And that's why the royal family of Egypt and the royal family of Iran were connected. Their two royal families were connected. But Farida and Muhammad Rida Pahlavi, they did not have children. And that's why the two royal houses discontinued in history. They were divorced, he married again, and he married again, and he married again. So Muhammad Rida Pahlavi was married a number of times, but his first wife is Farida. If you go to قصر السلاملك في المنتزه, you will see black and white pictures from the marriage night. Black and white pictures from the marriage night. Muhammad Rida Pahlavi, 21 years old, in Alexandria, in قصر رأس التين, and the marriage take place there. So the marriage was in رأس التين. حاجة فخمة كده. Anyway, we come to this mosque to talk about the royal family tombs, to see the tomb of Farouk and the Muhammad Rida Pahlavi. And it is an opportunity actually to speak about Shia versus Sunni, because Muhammad Rida Pahlavi was a Shia king, married a Sunni princess. So how Shia person marries Sunni person? That's normal. Sunni and Shia, they marry from each other. It's not common, but it's nothing against the faith. Both are Muslim, both believe in God, both believe in Muhammad. The differences between Sunni and Shia is actually about succession and leadership in Islamic society. And the story of Sunni Shia is a little sad story, but you can summarize the story in number of sentences. If you want to make it simple for people to perceive, you have to choose your words. It's a very complicated, al-fitna al-kubra, one of the biggest subjects in Islamic history, but how can you make it approachable to Western visitor? And they don't know anything about fitna kubra, and they don't understand the Arab culture. But you try to make things simple. And how to make things simple? Speak the right words. First of all, Prophet Muhammad had no sons. It all started from there. He had no sons. He only had a daughter, Fatima, was married to Ali, his cousin. Ali was raised by Muhammad, so he was a cousin by blood, but he was almost like a son. Ali is a very special person because Ali slept in Muhammad's bed the night of the immigration from Mecca to Medina. So when Muhammad emigrated from Mecca to Medina, Ali slept in his bed to decoy the tribe's leaders who were spying his house, making sure he's still in bed. But Ali was actually taking place Muhammad's in bed. This will be explained later by the Shia as something else. But what happened that night is what happened that night. We all know about it. And it doesn't have any religious meaning. Ali is his cousin. And he's brave. And he offered to sleep in his bed, to give him some time to escape Mecca. And then when they walk into his house, they found Ali in bed, and they didn't kill him because Ali is not a target. Ali is a child. Ali has a big family, so they don't want to make a revenge war with Ali's family. And he was not a target, and that's why Ali was spared. This is what happened, as simple as it is. But we know how this changed history. That particular night changed history later on. Prophet Muhammad, when he died, he had only a daughter, 2 grandchildren, and a son-in-law. And that's why the minute the Prophet died, the talk in that town was who is going to rule next. And that's a normal talk. We will do the same talk today if we have the same situation. Who is going to be the next ruler? We got the Prophet who gets the gospel, who talk Quran, and he lead the prayer. And he also lead the society. So Prophet Muhammad was a religious leader and also a social leader, a political leader and also a spiritual leader. So this is the problem of the role of the Prophet. The role of the Prophet was much more than just a prophet. He was the leader in every aspect. Prophet Muhammad lead battles. Prophet Muhammad lead trade. Prophet Muhammad lead prayers. Prophet Muhammad speak gospel. You got everything you need in one person. But when that person died, flesh and blood, that opens the book of succession. Arabia before Islam was governed and ruled by strict tribal rules. Tribal leaders, sheikhs, hierarchy, big tribes, little tribes, according to the size of your trade, according to the number of your camels. Wealth in Arabia has its own rules. So who's wealthy, who's poor, it's situational. But there is also tribes with honor, not particularly wealthy. So Prophet Muhammad tribe, Hashim, they are tribe of honor, not tribe of only wealth. Some of them were very wealthy, but they are not the wealthiest. They are the most honorable. Why? Because they are from centuries. They are the ones who do trade, they are the ones who run caravans for others, and they are the ones who serve the house in Mecca. And that's why they are the tribe of honor. However, when he died, everybody was looking for a new leader. So Ali was a strong candidate. But when the Prophet Muhammad died, how old Ali at that time? 36. He was young. Abu Bakr in his late 70th, Omar in his 60th, Osman in his 70th, all the elders, all the wise, all the big names. No, you are not going to appoint 36 years old young man over Omar, Abu Bakr. Those are big guys. And that's why the tribes got together and they choose the first caliph, Abu Bakr. Remember what happened in Saqifat Bani Sa'ida. Saqifat Bani Sa'ida is like a cultural club in modern sense. The city club. Everybody gathered in Medina and they says, what are we going to do? The Prophet is still in the house. They wash his body. They are getting ready to bury him. Ali and Fatima are grieving the Prophet while the community outside is looking for a new leader. This is exactly what happened in a human, approachable language. You have to speak like human and don't speak like a believer because they don't believe in what you believe. You have to speak history. They elected Abu Bakr. Ali and Fatima relegated to their house and they withdraw the society. So Ali, Fatima and their children, they relegated, retracted, and they become private. They started to work on the book of the Quran, collecting, reading, and remembering and memorizing the Prophet's legacy. And that happened for quite some time. 2 years Abu Bakr, 8 years Umar, and 10 years Osman. Altogether 20 years. The first 3 caliphs ruled together 10 years. And everything was smooth, everything was peaceful. Ali, still very peaceful. He buried his own wife in a mystery tomb because he doesn't want anyone to know where Fatima was buried. He realized, and this is an honest thing, Ali realized people are crazy about him and Fatima and the grandchildren, the blood of Muhammad, the holy family of Muhammad. And he didn't want that holy family story. And that's why he was very wise. Right from the start, he buried Fatima privately, on his own, with his children, somewhere nobody knows. And up until now, we don't know where is the tomb of Fatima. And the reason why Ali did this, he doesn't want people to be fascinated by Fatima's tomb and build the whole story around it. So he knew. I got a lot of information from the famous book of Ali, Imam al-Muttaqin, written by Abdurrahman al-Sharawi. You must get that book, part 1, part 2, 2 parts in Arabic. A great source of history and details about Ali. From my point of view, one of the greatest thinkers and leaders in Islamic history. Yet, he came and ruled in a very difficult times. And Ali, the leader, versus Ali, the wise, versus Ali, the husband, versus Ali, the father, versus Ali, the cousin. These are different Alis. The cousin the husband, the wise man, the mentor leader religiously. But Ali the Caliph is different. That's what you should know. And we are not undermining any person. And we are not criticizing. It's just a fair, approachable to what happened. The Caliph Ali came in a very difficult circumstances. You must, if you ever walk this landmine, if you ever walk this landmine of history, you got to be careful. Choose your words and only speak about what happened, and don't color your words with your feelings. Osman, policies of the state was not perfect. He was a great man, but Osman the Caliph was not as great, appointing his cousins as governors of all the states. So Egypt, Syria, Palestine, Iraq, Yemen, this is all governed by local governors who they come from the house of Osman. Of course, the most important that will create a problem after Osman was killed, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, governor of Syria. Mr. Muawiyah, he built himself a great kingdom in Syria. And he was paying and he was honoring the Caliph, but he was almost an independent. And when Osman was killed in Medina by the revolt of the delegations, people came from all over the states to complain the Caliph in the city of Medina. We are complaining against too much taxes, too much corruption. Your family control all the trade. We are paying too much for your family. You should remove these people and you should choose others. And Osman was stubborn. This is a fact of life. And that's why things got out of control. And the violence got out of control. And the house of the Caliph was attacked and he was killed in his own house. When he was killed in his own house, his family was not happy. Makes sense, right? Tribal Arabia. So tribalism. So the family of Osman were not happy. And the leader of this family at that point, Hisham ibn al-Hakam and Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, they declared mutiny. You know the word mutiny, Siyan. They declared mutiny against Ali. We are not approving your caliphate, despite you are a wise man. We are not approving your leadership, despite your background as a family member of the Prophet. We're not approving you unless you investigate the murder of Osman, you bring the killers to justice. So Ali started his caliphate with a huge challenge. Murder in the house of the Caliph, mass murder, we don't know who exactly did it. Number of people jumped over the house and killed him, stabbed him number of times. They even attacked his wife and cut off her fingers. They cut off her fingers when she tried to protect him. She took her own fingers in a little bag and she traveled all the way to Syria to meet Muawiyah and cry to Muawiyah, the blood of your cousin, you must revenge. Here is my fingers. And she gave him the blood-stained shirt of Osman, Qamis Osman. Remember, Qamis Osman became the symbol of the civil war. Qamis Osman. Sure, تفضلي. Qamis Osman, the shirt of Osman. What is the meaning and the symbol of the shirt of Osman? The shirt of Osman is the blood-stained shirt of the Caliph. So Naila, his younger wife, the younger wife, she lost her fingers. She take the fingers cut, she take the shirt, and she escaped to Syria, crying over Osman to Muawiyah, revenge your cousin. And that's why the war started right at this moment. Muawiyah declared mutiny, and put a lot of restrictions, like a lot of stop signs in front of Ali. Ali is trying to unite and bringing everyone to unity, and Muawiyah says, no, I'm not coming to you in Medina. You want to talk to me, you have to come to Damascus. Dangerous. Dangerous. If Ali goes to Damascus, maybe he will be killed. Little by little, we have a propaganda war. Muawiyah started to use propaganda, spreading words in Medina and Mecca about what happened, telling their own story, because we have a story, but we have different versions of the truth. You got my point. We have an event, we have an incident, we have a catastrophe. But this catastrophe happened, has different versions of the truth. And everyone see it from their point of view. And that's why we call it Al-Fitna Al-Kubra. Al-Fitna Al-Kubra is one of the toughest subjects you can talk as a leader, no matter what is your background. Because it's very complicated and it's very dangerous waters. You can be easily rated as a heretic if you teeter on these subjects. You can be rated as a disbeliever because you are talking openly about this. You should know great imams and great teachers in mosques, they choose to avoid talking this subject on Fridays. No imam ever talk about the Fitna Kubra in Fridays. Why? Because why you talk about Fitna Kubra? We don't want to touch that. Educated people read it in the books. So books are always there. They say everything. But how many persons go to the book and read? And how many persons get all the information from the leaders in the mosques? So one person can talk to 200 persons. Today with social network, things are a lot easier, so people can talk more about it. Anyway, my aim is actually to explain what happened in simple language so you can remember the milestone. There is a milestone, step, 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 step. Ali decided to move the capital from Medina to Kufa. And with Ali moving to Kufa and his family and his fans, now the war and the battle become South Iraq, Syria. Damascus, Muawiyah, Ali, Kufa, and all the fans of Ali around Kufa. Everybody lives in South Iraq. See, Ali is the legitimate ruler and he is the chosen one by God, and we should fight for him. A caliph, holy family, bloodline, husband of Fatima, father of the grandchildren of the Prophet. So he is the perfect one, the special one. And that team got its own leaders and imams and sheikhs that calling Muawiyah a disbeliever, heretic, savage killer. On the other side, in Syria, they see Ali, unauthorized caliph, a man does not live and work for justice, weak and incapable to bring justice to the nation, and he should never be followed because he is not the right person. A caliph should be all about justice. Follow the word of God and bring the killers to justice. So Muawiyah's voice was loud. Ali's voice was also loud. Ali has righteousness on his side. Muawiyah got army, money on his side. So what Muawiyah got? Army, money, and propaganda. He was buying people. Wealthy, trade, Syria. So army, money, and propaganda. And that's why the propaganda against Ali was big, and that's why the war between the two was not easy. So 6 years fighting one another. 6 years fighting one another. 6 years fighting one another. 6 years fighting one another until the Battle of Siffin. What happened at the Battle of Siffin? It was somewhere on the border of Syria and Iraq, and the armies of Ali almost crushed the armies of Muawiyah. Crushed completely. And it was the end. And the armies of Muawiyah retreating. Everybody's going back to the main tent. Everybody's going back to the big flags. And Muawiyah is retreating. until something happened, changed everything. Right at the end of the battle, when Ali's fighters are congratulating each others, Ammar ibn Yasir was 80 years old fighting that day. He was 80 years old fighting that day, Ammar ibn Yasir, with Ali. And he was the bravest of the warriors. So he was congratulating, and he told Ali, we should attack, we should push, and we should finish it. And go to Damascus and finish this civil war. This civil war must end now. And how we end it? Kill them all. Ali was not okay with that, because Ali got a soft heart. He doesn't like killing. He had to go to war to unite the nation, but he had a heart of soft. So he doesn't like to see more blood. Whenever there is an opportunity of peace, he stopped the war. He says we should stop the war, give these people a chance to move to our side. We should pray together. We should stop this fight. But this is not politics. In politics, sometimes you have to be radical. And Ali was not a radical politician. He was a soft-hearted leader. And that caused the price. And the price was his life. He paid his life as a price for his soft-hearted. Ali opted to slow down the attack. Amr ibn al-As, the fox of the Arabs, he was in his late 60s, fighting this war with Muawiyah against Ali. Amr went to Muawiyah, told him, we have to stop the war. We are losing, and our people are moving sides to his side. But we have to stop them. We have to stop this madness. We have to trick Ali. He is a soft-hearted, and we know how to stop the war. We're going to ask Ali to stop the war and go back to the scriptures of the Quran and ask for a mediation. In the middle of the war, they ask for mediation. They ask for a truce, mediate the elders and the wise, and Amr ibn al-As ordered all his warriors to stop the fight, and whatever manuscripts and books they have from the Quran, and people used to have little things around their waist, they put it on the tip of their swords and they hang it like this. That means, I don't fight. In the Arab language of war, I don't fight. I don't fight. I don't fight. No one can attack you. No one can attack you. If you have a little piece of documents from the Quran on the tip of your swords and you just raise it like this, so everybody stop and do this. So Ali started crying. It's the trick. And Ali eat the bait. He did eat the bait. He stopped the fight. He told him, what you want? He says, we're both Arabs. We're both Muslims. We're actually cousins, most of us. Yes, that's true, but you follow Muawiyah. Now we are not sure. Now we are not sure who's right and who's wrong. So maybe we need to sit down and talk, and we just can mediate and find out who's right and who's wrong through the scriptures. And we are willing to submit. And that's why this mediation, trickery, mockery, and deceit, trickery, mockery, and deceit of Amr ibn al-As in particularly led to the war stop before it ended. Ali accepted the mediation. The mediation happened. He was tricked again in the mediation because they deposed Ali from the mediation. They says, you're wrong, Ali. You should be leaving the caliphate because you're wrong. And that's how Ali lost the battle. He was actually a winner, but he lost it. And a lot of his fans left him, and it became very confusing. Ali returned back to South Iraq, and Muawiyah decided to kill Ali. But he was unable to get Ali. This is the time when there is a group of people in the Arab society named themselves Khawarij. And there are no translation for Khawarij. Khawarij are Khawarij. Who are the Khawarij? You can explain. Khawarij are a group of warriors from both sides, Ali and Muawiyah, who see them both wrong, see them both broke the law of God, broke Sharia, violated the teachings of Muhammad, and take the nation to a bloodbath. So we are Khawarij on both of them, and we will kill them both to end the civil war. Do you get it? Khawarij made an army. They become independent. They know they are small, so they work secretly. So they send someone to kill Muawiyah. They failed. They send someone to kill Ali. They got him. And that's how Khawarij managed to kill Ali, walking outside of his house, going to the mosque to pray in the morning time. Why Ali was killed so easily? Because Ali was not a political leader. Ali was a wise man. He doesn't walk with bodyguards. He doesn't live in big palaces. He doesn't have army of guardians. He's just a wise guy. He woke up in the morning and he walked from his house in his old clothing to pray like everybody else. Somebody got him in the narrow alleyway towards the house in the dark. Ali was killed by Khawarij. Muawiyah, because he lived the life of a king, nobody can get him. Got it? So, the killing of Ali opened a chain reaction in the Islamic society. The nation got together, chose Hussein, his son, to be the leader. And Hussein started to get the troops. Muawiyah keeps sending armies to South Iraq to fight the armies of Ali and Hussein. And Hussein was very much like his father, looking for peace. So Muawiyah and Yazid ibn Muawiyah, they actually tricked and cheated Hussein once again by sending messengers to Hussein that they are looking for peace agreement. We make a peace agreement. So let's meet outside the city of Karbala. And Hussein went out with a few of his fans, like maybe 20, 30, 40, not more. And Yazid was waiting for them. Yazid came with his army. They set them up. They attacked Hussein and his fans, and they killed them, all of them. Not only this, they killed them and they mutilated their body. Pow, 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 pow. And it was very savage killing. Savage. As a result, Hussein was killed. The fans of Hussein, the fans of Ali, all in South Iraq see this, the tragedy of humanity, the tragedy of mankind. And that's why the Shi'is, the followers of Ali and Hussein in South Iraq, all their life grieve the murder of Hussein, the murder of Ali in South Iraq. They built them memorial tombs in the city of Karbala. They concentrated in Najaf, and South Iraq is the stronghold of the Shi'is historically. Why? They see the Imam Ali and Hussein are the great Imams who sacrificed their soul for the unification of the Ummah. So they are the real leaders. Not only this, we started to go back to the history of early Islam when Ali slept in bed of Prophet Muhammad the night of the immigration, and they said, it was written right from the start that Ali should be number 2 next to the Prophet. It was written that Ali should save the Prophet. So Ali is as important as the Prophet. And starting from this point, Shi'i teachings and Shi'i propaganda started to go extreme in elevating Ali to a higher status in Islamic faith. And that's why when you walk into Shi'i mosques, you see La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, Ali Waliyullah. A whole sentence. Ali Waliyullah. As if he gets authoritative link to the divine. As if he himself is semi-divine or quasi-divine. And that's why Shi'i highly revered Hussein Ali. Shi'i revered the family. Shi'i revered the blood of Fatima and Ali and Hussein. Up until today, they believe the invisible Imam of the Shi'is is still alive. But they hide him to protect him from the Sunni killers. And that's why the rivalry and the grudges between Sunnis and Shi'is in Iraq, in Islamic State, during the Abbasid period is big. Big, 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 big. Because for ages, the Sunnis killed the Shi'is. For ages, the Shi'is revenge and they want to pay back the Sunnis. And that's what happened in Iraq. Remember, Iraq, 50% Shi'i, 50% Sunni. So the Sunni was ruling the Shi'is under Ba'ath Party until removing Saddam in the American invasion of 2003. But the American invasion of 2003 opened the box of hatred, because the American invasion of Iraq gave the Shi'is the opportunity to pay back the Sunnis. And that's why what we are having in Iraq now is Shi'is persecuting the Sunnis. As a result of the Shi'i persecution to the Sunnis, the radical Sunni leaders and the radical Sunni tribes got together and made IS. Thank you so much. Shukran haq. They got together and they made IS. So what is IS? Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. IS. Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. It's an offshoot of Al-Qaeda. It's an offshoot of Qaeda, but it's not purely Qaeda, because it is actually an angry Sunni group from the Shi'i persecution. So the American invasion created a new situation that makes the Shi'i suppress the Sunni and make the Sunni bounce back and create an ultra-conservative group to suppress back the Shi'is. Shi'i-Sunni wars are so old in history, and opening this box was not a smart move. And I say this to all my American friends. Guys, going to Iraq and removing Saddam, either you do it with full knowledge, so that's evil, or you do it with ignorance, and that's a catastrophe. Either it's an evil act because you know what you're doing, or it's a catastrophe act because you don't know what you're doing. One of the two. But it's not an honest thing. It's something really bad what's going on in Iraq. Anyway, Sunni Shi'i has a lot of twists and angles, has a lot of side stories. I gave you the standard story. No personal opinion. This is the standard line of history. If you have a question about Sunni Shi'i, I will be more than happy to answer it. Sultan Hassan. The Sultan Hassan mosque, mausoleum, school, dorm is a large complex. The best example of high Middle Age Islamic monuments. Scholars call it the Great Pyramid of all Islamic monuments around the world. Its size, its scale, and sophistication put it among the highest quality building from Islamic monuments. The mosque was built between 1355 to 1360 in the days of Sultan Hassan, a young Mamluk Sultan from the family of Qalawun. The Sultan Hassan, son of Nasir Muhammad, son of Qalawun. He himself was 17, 18 when he ruled, and he disappeared in mysterious circumstances at the age of 21, 22. Typical Mamluk mystery ending. During his short reign, it was the peak of the Black Plague and death everywhere. According to Maqrizi, the famous Arab Islamic historian, the bodies coming out from houses became so much, and they were accumulated by the side of the mosque. So the mosque was under construction and the bodies were everywhere. We don't have enough people to bury them. We don't have enough people to burn them. You can just imagine the sad situation of the plague. During the plague, the sultans and the state is the sole inheritor of properties, businesses of dead families. And that's why everything you leave behind, it goes to the state. And that's why there is so much money. There's so much money to do whatever you want. And that's why the Sultan was able to make such monumental building, and the famous architect Muhammad, one of Walad al-Nas. If you read this novel by Reem Bassiouni, you will understand, because the novel is around that mosque. Walad al-Nas by Reem Bassiouni. Walad al-Nas is a title in the Mamluk period given to those people who are sons of Mamluk and Egyptians together. So the Mamluks and the Egyptians never merged. The Mamluks are Mamluks, Egyptians are Egyptians. And the Mamluks always look down on Egyptians. And the Egyptians always look high on the Mamluks, because these are the rulers. But occasionally, a Mamluk emir marry an Egyptian young woman. The offspring of this marriage are Walad al-Nas. A son of a Mamluk warrior, a son of an Egyptian woman. You are not entirely Mamluk, and in the eye of the Mamluk people, you are not a pure Mamluk. You are not a warrior, right? So you will never be a sultan, because your hands are soft. You don't carry a sword. You don't get training in El Burg or down by Manial. So you don't belong to any of the Ustad, this word in Spanish and also in Middle Age English. Ustad or Ustaz. That's the title of the Mamluk leader. Every Ustaz, that's a title. Every Ustaz, which it made its way in Spanish, Ustad. Every Ustaz is the master of his community. So the leaders of the Mamluks, they have 3,000 followers, 2,000 followers, 5,000 followers. The more followers you have, the bigger you are. So the night of choosing a new Mamluk Sultan, everyone show up with his numbers. And that's why the bigger the number you have, the higher the voice, and you can choose, or you can actually be yourself a Sultan. We have one Mamluk Sultan ruled only for one night. He was elected by sunset and he was killed before sunrise. We have one Mamluk Sultan. When they give him the crown, he says, I don't want to be a Sultan. I don't want to be a Sultan. No, you are going to be a Sultan. I don't want to be a Sultan. Please don't give it to me. Someone else can take it. I choose any one of you. No, we choose, you are the Sultan. And 2 days later, they killed him. It's a sad story, but it's a funny story. It's a funny story. Anyway, the Sultan Hassan Mosque is a complex that includes lots of buildings. Again, 1350. 1350, nothing in the world that big, that complicated, that sophisticated. 1350, nothing that beautiful. From the outside, not attractive as the Rifaa'i. Because all what you see, the high walls, sheer stone and windows, these are the windows that leads up to the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth floor. These are the dorms where the students and the teachers use. So we have a mosque for praying, and we have teaching classes for Mazahib al-Arba, Sunni, theological schools. Then we have the dorms, living areas. We have cistern under the ground. We have complicated sewerage program. We have water treatment system. We have a kitchen, and we have side praying areas and praying rooms. So it's a school, madrasa, it's a tomb, it's a mosque, and it's a dorm. A dorm means a living quarter for the students and the teachers. The mosque owns the most beautiful gate, the highest and the tallest gate in all mosques in high middle age, 38 meters high. No mosques in the world owns this imposing facade of 38 meters high. Above the entrance, as you walk in, we used to have the original marble, which is missing, you can see, but we have the stalactites above the door. I want you to think about it, why stalactite is such an important element in decorative art in Islamic mosques. We're going to walk in and answer some of the art questions. To the Sultan Hassan main entrance. The Sultan Hassan is quite interesting and important because the mosque in the Mamluk era was the grand and the biggest monument in Cairo next to the citadel. So the citadel is not far and the mosque is facing the citadel. In the Mamluk period, when fights between Mamluk emirs breaks out, a lot of the warriors come to the Sultan Hassan and use as a fort. The monumental gate, the massive door, make this mosque more than just a mosque. They use it as a fort. They move the cannons all the way to the rooftop and they started to bombard the citadel from it. This is the only point you can attack the citadel from. And that's why this place was damaged over the years during the civil wars in the Mamluk period. One of the reasons why made the designer keep that entrance separate from the actual mosque and the praying and the teaching areas. This area used to be a marketplace, and the fans of the Rifaa'i used to be always around his tomb, singing and dancing all night. And that's why to make a school in this area, you need to keep the school away from the noise. So they designed the tomb and the mosque away from the market. And they keep this area separately as an entrance. So when you enter the mosque, you come right to here as a foyer, and then you walk up to the mosque to a long corridor where the noise of the city dissipates as you walk slowly to the inside. How can you capture the noise? Ceiling, shafts, changing of ground floor level. So from low to high to high to higher. As you're changing the floor level, as the ceiling keep changing, the voice of the city and the noise stops before you go in. Decorations in Mamluk mosques follow the same rules of Islamic art. Plain, geometrical designs, flowers, and some floral pattern. There is a lot of painted wood, painted stones, marble work. Most interestingly, something you see in every mosque, the stalactites on the ceiling. What is a stalactite? مقرنسات في اللغة العربية. Stalactite is مقرنسات. If you ask me what is مقرنسات, then the only thing is, where do you see stalactites? Stalactite in English is when you go to a cave, you see all this natural formation coming down from the cave ceiling. The stalactite. هي دي natural stalactite. You see stalactites in cave. So in Islamic art, they cover ceilings of doorways and gates and rooms with stalactites. Question you must ask, why? Why Islamic artists in Middle Ages, decorate the mosques with stalactites. What's so special about stalactites and Islamic art? Imagination, please. In Islamic history, Prophet Muhammad was meditating in a cave outside Mecca. And what happened in the cave in that night of Ramadan? Gabriel visited the Prophet. So the gospel paid a visit to the Prophet. And what did Gabriel said to Muhammad? Gabriel is Gabriel in English. So Gabriel gave Prophet Muhammad the words of the Quran. When Gabriel appeared to Muhammad, they did not chit-chat. They did not drink tea. They did not talk about the world politics. Every word comes out from Gabriel is Quran. And what is the first word came out from Gabriel in the cave? Read. And Muhammad said, I can't read. He shook him. Read. And he was terrified. Can't read, I'm illiterate. Read in the name of God and all this. Okay, so the stalactites in Islamic art has a symbolic meaning. It's referring to the cave when the divine meets human. When the gospel descended upon the Prophet through it and gave the Quran. And that's why the designers and the artists were trying to recall the early Islamic stories in symbolic fashion. So Islamic art is all about symbolic fashion. Everything is symbolism. Let's go inside. The Sunni world that was shaped during the Abbasid period, because up until the Umayyad period, there was no Shi'i Sunni faction. The Shi'i Sunni problem started to get bigger, and the rift between the two camps started to get bigger and bigger during the Abbasides. From 750 to 850 to 950 until the Fatimids came to Cairo, Shia Sunni thing keep getting bigger and bigger. The Shias goes undercover and their books become different and their groups become different. So we started to see groups and leaders and kinds, and today we have 12 different Shia sects. During the Abbasid period, the Abbasid Caliph invited scholars of the Islamic world to put interpretations of the Quran, and they gathered together what we call it hadith, the Prophet's words and teachings. Ilm al-Hadith, the doctrine of hadith, something started during the Abbasides. So you need to remember that the Abbasid rule and the Abbasid Caliphate is responsible of hadith collection and the interpretation of Islamic Sunni fiqh. And as the Abbasides are attracting ulama and scholars from various regions, we started to see 4 schools, 4 teachers: Ibn Hanbal, Ibn Malik, Shafi'i, Hanafi. مدرسة الحنفية، مدرسة Ibn Hanbaliyya. 4 schools belongs to 4 scholars who owns 4 different interpretation visions. Fiqh is a word in Arabic, does not exist in English. But the nearest is doctrine. Doctrine in English is the philosophy of whatever. So you own a doctrine means you own vision. You own fiqh. Fiqh is the word that they teach in the 4 schools. So what they teach in the 4 schools? Islamic fiqh. What is Islamic fiqh? Islamic theology with the doctrine of the four different scholars. One of them, Shafi'i, was very popular in Egypt, and that's why teachings according to Shafi'i common in Egypt. The other teachings common in Egypt, Malki. So part of Egyptians follow Malki, most Egyptians follow Shafi'i. While Saudi Arabia, Wahhabi, conservative Arabia, they follow the other schools, Hanafi and Hanbali. Apparently, the teachers are different. Apparently, their teachings are different. And that's why Abbasid caliphs are the one who attracted some and persecuted others. And everything happened during the Caliphate period. And that's why the shaping of Islamic theology and the writing and the interpretation of Islamic hadith, it is all happened during the Abbasid period. The Mamelukes follow that. Mamelukes were traders. Mamelukes were caravan organizers, ruling Egypt and Syria. They own cargo ships in the Mediterranean. They have navy ships in the Red Sea and the Indian waters. Their mission is to secure the Silk Road business into Syria, into Egypt and North Africa, and bring the Indian products of Far Eastern products into the Red Sea on camel caravans to the river, to Rosetta and Damietta and Alexandria and ship. So the world trade at the time, the Mameluke period, got 90% of the business and trade in Asia. You should remember that. Up until 1350 AD, 90% of the ancient world trade located mainly Asia, China, India, and Indonesia, Philippines. But that trade needs to travel. And they travel on ships and sometimes on land. So Silk Road in Central Asia, Indian Ocean via Egypt. And that's why the Mamelukes found themselves on the crossroad of the ancient world trade. Controlling the Silk Road, controlling the Indian Ocean trade. Europe suffers from Mameluke control of trade, suffers from taxes, suffers from control of raw materials. Europe needs salt. The Mameluke control the salt trade. Europe needs spices, controlled by the Mameluke spice trade. And that's why Europe got dairy products. Europe got seasonal grain. Europe got wood, lots of wood. And Europe got a lot of slaves. White slaves were commonly sold out in markets in this part of the world. And the slave trade in Europe was big. And remember, the Balkan nation and Eastern Europeans, what do we call them in English? Slavic. And what is the origin of the word Slavic? Slaves. So those are the Middle Ages slaves. The Ottomans buy them, the Mameluke buys them, and everybody buys them. And that's the Slavics, which mainly Balkans today. The Mamelukes enjoyed an incredible central position in the ancient world trade on the world map. And they take an advantage, maximum opportunity from this. Trade and taxes, trade and taxes. But the Mamelukes were not people of innovation. Were not people of science. Were not people of schools and hospitals and industries. Were not people of farming. They were people of trade and war. So they were great warriors and they were great traders. They built the greatest monuments, but these are personal glory. The mosque of the Sultan Hassan, the mosque of the Nasser Muhammad, the mosque of Barkuk, the mosque of Kalawun. These are personal properties to celebrate the person and his family. But it's not a social And that's why Egypt economically, during the period of the Mamluk, had a strange situation. Wealth among the Mamluks, poverty among the Egyptians. So the nation suffers, paying the Mamluks almost everything they got. But the Mamluks keeps all the wealth, but they are the ones who fight. When the Egyptians and the Mamluks argue, the Mamluks always remind Egyptians, we protect you, we fight for you. Without us, you will be eaten before noon by great powers. Because the Mamluks defeated the Mughals and stopped them in Ain Jalut. The Mamluks defeated the Crusades and defeated them and kicked them out after the Battle of Acre, 1291. So the Mamluks, who defeated the Crusades in Fariskor, defeated the Crusades in Acre, defeated the Mughals in Ain Jalut. So who is the greatest power of the ancient world at the time? The Mamluks. If you defeat the Mughals and the Crusades, who else is bigger? If the Mughals and the Crusades are, and that's why strange circumstances brought the Mamluks to power. Between 1250 to 1260, the Mamluks are the biggest power in the center of the world. And that's why they control trade and accumulate a lot of wealth. The Egyptians submit to the Mamluk rule, despite it was not a great rule. So we enjoy a mosque with great monuments. But behind the mosque, we have a sad story. The nation was poor, and the pandemic of the Black Plague really ravaged the society. Finally, the Mamluks lost power only when the Europeans decided to look for alternative trade roads. What happened? 1492, Spanish maverick went to the Portuguese king and told him, I can find a way to India without going to the Mamluks and pay them 1,000% taxes. I need ships, I need sailors. So they gave him ships and sailors, and that's how the Americas was discovered. Once the Americas was discovered by accident, it was the saddest irony in the history of mankind, because Europe realized that the world changed and the trade changed and the raw materials changed, and no need for the Mamluks and no need for the Arabs. And this part of the world was relegated on the corner of business. And that's why Western Europe become the center of business, the controlling main brain of business and innovation and science and education. Western Europe became the center of innovation, science, and education. Explorations and world trade was diverted to them. So all the gold and all the silver and all the resources and all the grain and all the wheat that came from the new world was diverted to the new center, while the Mamluks was relegated in the dark age. Here, it's the end of the story. 1492, 1495, during the later days of Qaid Bey and Al-Ghuri, the last Mamluk sultans, it was the rapid decline, because lack of resources, no businesses, no caravans, no taxes. Remember, Mamluks, no farmers, no industrialists. They are not people of education and they are not people of science. They are warriors and traders. There is no trade, we go for war. There is no war, we go for trade. Now they are caught in history. They have no trade and they cannot go for war because they are far too weak. It was a matter of time. 1510, 1515, 1517. Al-Ghuri was defeated in Syria. He was killed and his head was separated from his body. And Selim first advanced with his mighty Ottoman army to Egypt and just another cycle of history. The Ottomans invades Egypt and ends the Mamluk and begins the Ottoman period. Cycles. Sad cycles, but it's a cycle. And the glory of the Mamluk, to understand and to better explain, it was commercial, trade, and the international pandemics that they benefit. Despite the fact it was a sad period, the Mamluk monuments in Egypt and in Syria, the best remaining in the whole world. Quality. Quality. Rich sultan with a lot of resources hired the best artist in his kingdom. So artists from Egypt, from Palestine, from Syria, Turkish, Slavic, Balkan, everybody. Persians, a lot of Persians, Indians, everybody come and work for the sultan. And that's why these grand monuments of the Mamluks are true pieces of art from this period. Generally speaking, we call it Mamluk. What is the meaning of the word Mamluk? Mamluk, to be enslaved. The word Mamluk, to be enslaved. But the connotations of Mamluk in the Middle Age, white slave. Because black slaves were not Mamluks. You don't refer to a black slave or an Indian slave or an Ethiopian slave as Mamluk. No, Mamluk only means one thing: white slave. And that is funny thing, because we guide a lot of white people and they think slavery is only relegated to Africa, right? Slavery is African. No. There used to be more white slaves in the Middle Ages than black slaves. And the international slave market in Constantinople and in Eastern Europe and in the Balkan and Samarkand and Bukhara and Damascus and Cairo and Abbasides were more than the actually they were cheaper. White slaves were cheaper. You can buy 3 white Slavic girls for 1 Ethiopian girl.